First thing to do is to remove the door panel. I'm using a little pig tool. A screwdriver will work fine. We just pull that out. So you want to grab it from the back here. So you push this in and it just pops out there. Then on some of them, we have this little plug here that's to hold the handle in place. So you push it in a tiny bit and then it'll pop out. Next, we have to remove this. There's a screw down here. Using just a pry tool here. So you want to squeeze it underneath here and then pull straight up. So once you have it separated a little bit, which is a little tough, now you're going to grab it from back there and you're just going to pull up and then you slide back. Okay, once you slide it back, you can remove the plugs. The driver and passenger side are pretty much the same thing. Now to remove this, there is a little push pin right here that you push in and then the wiring harness comes out. So we've got 2 screws here. These are Phillips head screws and the screws are different sizes and different colors. Okay, so this smaller one goes here in the front and this larger one goes here at the handle. Now we're going to separate the door panel from the door. Okay, I'm going to be using my pry tool again and I'm just going to be squeezing it around here. So once you hear that first pop, you can stick your fingers in there and use your fingers to also help you pull it apart. You don't want to be too rough with this because you don't want to break the clips or break the door panel. Either one breaks, then what will happen is the door panel will rattle. So let's see if everything comes out. Yep, everything's beautiful. We can do one of 2 ways. We can unmount the wires back here for the door handle, or we can just pull the door handle out and slide it away from the panel. So we can leave that connected. Now to remove the speaker, we have a single Phillips. It's also a 10 millimeter. So whichever one you want to use. So you grab it. It is kind of stuck in there from the foam that they installed at the factory, but comes out pretty easy as you see. Now we're going to push these 2 clips on the sides and pull the connector off. Grab it and move it back and forth. So we're going to be removing this speaker. This speaker works, but as I said earlier, depends how hard you slam the door. We're going to be replacing those. So now we are ready for the new ones. First, the adapter goes on. So it's got these little clips here that go into there, just like the factory ones. Once they're there, we're going to put the screw in. The new speaker is larger than the old one. We are going to do the wiring on the speaker and then plug it into the factory harness. We've got 2 different size lugs here and 2 different size connectors. So the wider connector goes on the wider lug. Give it a little support in the back as you're pushing them in because you don't want to bend anything. All right. So that is done. Now we just need to plug it in and screw everything in. So once we've got everything installed, I'm going to turn on the car and turn on the radio, make sure that everything works the way it should, and then we can move on to the next step. When you're putting it up, because of this area here that's interfering with the wires, make sure that you put the wires facing up. Be very careful when you're running these and when you're using the screwdriver. You don't want it to slip and puncture the speaker. I'm going to turn on the car radio just to make sure that we have sound. And there we go. So we know it works. I'll put a couple of more screws in it and then we will reassemble the door. All right, to assemble the door, pretty easy. Exactly reverse of what we did to disassemble the door. First, we're going to pull this through. Now we come up here and we make sure that we've got this in the proper channel. So you'll know that it's right when it's level here. So you know it's in the right position. Now the clips on the side, you want to look at them and make sure that they're properly aligned before you start pushing it in. So when you hear those clips, that means everything is falling perfectly in place. Now we're going to reinstall the 2 screws. And once again, I'm going to be using it. So the short one will go up here on the door handle. You don't want to over tighten these screws, because if you do, you could break the door panel. Clicking sound, very important. Make sure everything in. So if you noticed, I put this side in first. I pushed it forward. Now you just push it down and it all clips into place. So the last thing to do on this door here is to put in that little clip that I told you about that's in here. So we're going to open up the door and we're going to push this into place. You just push the pin in and you are done. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the back deck for the speakers. This is a 4-door, so the back speakers are on that deck. So now we are moving to the back speakers, and they are under this cover here. Easier access is you fold down the rear seat and you will pull on this and then come over here and pull that down. So that gives you much easier access. So we have to unplug that cable right there on that speaker. And, you know, just like the front ones, you've got these 2 clips on both sides. You squeeze those together and then you wiggle the plug out. Okay. So that is ready to move now. Let's start by removing the panel. So I'm just using a regular flathead screwdriver, a small one. So you want to start from this corner here, because over here you have these hooks that are in. You start from that corner, you're going to break the bracket. So pull on this side here, nice and gentle. And these are those hooks that I was telling you about. If you start prying it from this side, you're going to break those. So now over here, I'm going to be using a little Phillips stubby screwdriver. We're going to remove the screw here. The speaker comes out. Now we're going to put in the new adapter. Just make sure that you have it hooked up in the correct place. We'll put this screw back in, just like the front. So this is identical to the front. Yeah, the stubby screwdriver here, I'm going to reconnect, or I'm going to connect the adapter to it. And just like the front, we're going to put it on there and support it a little bit in the back. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. That drops into there. And I'm using the little screws here to align these. When you're working with a screwdriver around a speaker, make sure that you support the screwdriver really well, because you don't want it to slip and puncture the speaker cone. Let me connect the wiring at the bottom. So that is done too. Everything's screwed down. You're good. So now we'll put this back on. That is perfect. Let me go ahead and turn on the radio. Make sure that one's working too.
New album, Daughter from Hell.
So we are good to go. That is done. Now the most important thing about the upgrade. How does it sound? I think it sounds fantastic. She's going to be very happy. All right, guys, that's the end of this review. I hope that helped. Till next time.